Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to study about the next gland, thyroid gland. It is the largest gland, endocrine gland. The last class we have studied about only pituitary gland and the pineal gland. The next gland is thyroid gland. It is the largest endocrine gland because if you see the shape of the size of the pituitary gland, it is a pea seed shape, small in size. But the thyroid gland is the largest gland than other glands. It includes two lobes located on either side of the trachea. Listen here, we can see it's the trachea, our throat region, no? Yes. It includes two lobes located on either side of the trachea. The lobes are interconnected with isthmus. This connection is known as isthmus, a connective tissue. And the thyroid gland is composed of follicles and stromal tissues. Here we can see around follicles and stromal tissues. Did you understand? It is the largest gland and it includes two lobes, right and left side. See, two lobes located on either side of the trachea. The lobes are interconnected with each other by a connection. This connection is known as isthmus. Okay, here we can see the connection is known as isthmus. It is a connective tissue. And the thyroid gland is composed of so many follicles. See here we can see bubble-like structure, no? Yeah. It is so many follicles and stromal tissues. In this thyroid gland only there is a presence of parathyroid gland. Here see the red color structure, parathyroid gland. Is it clear? The follicular cells secrete the following hormones. The thyroid gland is composed of so many follicles. The follicle or the follicular cells secrete the following hormones. What are the hormones? Thyroxine. It is otherwise known as T4. Tetraiodothyronine. Tetraiodothyronine. That's why it is known as T4 and triiodothyronine. To understand, in lower classes we have studied only that the secretions of a thyroid gland. Thyroid gland secretes thyroxine. There are two types of secretions by thyroid gland. One is T4, another one is T3. T4 means tetra. Tetra means 4. Is it clear? Tetraiodothyronine and another hormone triiodothyronine. The thyroxine is two types. Again one more secretion, the thyrocalcitonin, TCT, thyrocalcitonin. What are the two secretions, two hormones of a thyroid gland? Thyroxine and thyrocalcitonin. The thyroxine is two types, T4 and T3. T4 means tetraiodothyronine. T3 means triiodothyronine, totally called as thyroxine. The another hormone secreted by thyroid gland is thyrocalcitonin. Is it clear? Now we can see about thyroxine. Tetraiodothyronine and triiodothyronine. What are the functions of thyroxine? Its function is regulation of basal metabolic rate, BMR. BMR means basal metabolic rate, physical, mental and sexual development. What are the functions of thyroxine? A regulation of a basal metabolic rate. All the metabolism, carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism taking place. So it is known as, it regulates basal metabolic rate and also physical, mental and sexual development. And another function is support RBC formation. Formation of RBC. Control metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Maintain water and electrolyte balance. So now come on, say what are the functions of thyroid gland? Regulation of a basal metabolic rate, physical, mental and sexual development, support RBC formation, they control metabolism of carbohydrate, fat and protein, and also maintain water and electrolyte balance. So the thyroid gland is very important in our life. What about another secretion of a thyroid gland? Thyrocalcitonin, TCT. It is a protein hormone. It regulates the blood calcium levels. That means it lowers the blood calcium level. That's on the name itself we can understand thyrocalcitonin, calcium. Okay, it regulates the blood calcium levels. Actually, the iodine is essential for normal hormone synthesis in thyroid. Is it clear? So, if the iodine deficiency is causes for the so many defect in the thyroid hormone. So, iodine is essential for normal hormone synthesis of thyroid. Here we can see what are the effects of thyroid gland. The first one, hypothyroidism. That means the lack of thyroxine. The hypothyroidism is otherwise known as goiter. That means enlargement of thyroid gland due to deficiency of iodine. So iodine is very much essential for the normal functioning of thyroid gland. The deficiency of iodine causes enlargement of thyroid gland. Here we can see the neck region, there is a swelling, no? Yes. This is known as goiter. The swelling of the thyroid gland taking place due to the lack of iodine, deficiency of iodine. In adult women, it causes irregular menstrual cycle. And hypothyroidism during pregnancy affects the baby, causing stunt growth. That disease is known as cretinism. In babies, it causes deficiency of thyroid gland, causes cretinism. So mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, abnormal skin, deaf mutism. These are the effects of hypothyroidism. Hypo means lack, deficiency. Did you understand? Deficiency of the thyroxine causes in babies. In small children, the deficiency of thyroid gland causes stunt growth. That means cretinism and also mental retardation and low IQ, abnormal skin, and they may be deaf, mutism. All these are the effects of hypothyroidism. Next one is hyperthyroidism. Hyper means more, over secretion. Hypo means lack of thyroxine. Hyperthyroidism means abnormal increase in the secretion of thyroxine. Listen. Abnormal increase of thyroid hormones resulting in adverse effects on physiological activities. It is caused due to development of the nodules or the cancer of thyroid gland. Yes. Due to the overproduction of thyroxine causes cancer. Here we can see small nodules in the thyroid gland. So, exophthalmic goiter, that means Graves' disease. Exophthalmic goiter, it is a form of hyperthyroidism. Symptoms. What are the symptoms of exophthalmic goiter? Enlargement of thyroid gland, protrusion of eyeballs. See, we can see protrusion of eyeballs, increased basal metabolic rate and weight loss. To understand, overproduction of thyroxine causes exophthalmic goiter. Here we can see the enlargement of thyroid gland, protrusion of eyeballs and increased basal metabolic and weight loss taking place. The next gland is parathyroid gland. The parathyroid gland is present here. We can see it is embedded in the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is present in the either side of the trachea. This parathyroid gland is embedded in the thyroid gland. There are 4 glands present on back side of the thyroid gland. One pair each in the 2 lobes of thyroid gland. Back side. See, back side of one lobe have 2 glands. They secrete parathyroid hormone PTH, a peptide hormone. Where they are located? Back side of thyroid gland. How many glands? Totally 4 glands. What is the secretion? They secrete parathyroid hormone. It is a peptide hormone. The functions of parathyroid hormone. It increases calcium ion level in blood. That is known as hypercalcemic hormone. That's why it is known as hypercalcemic hormone. Increases the calcium level. Okay, hyper means more, hypo means less. Did you understand? So parathyroid hormone increases the calcium content in our blood, and it stimulates bone resorption. That means demineralization. It stimulates the reabsorption of calcium salts. Stimulates the reabsorption of calcium salts. So automatically increase the calcium content in the blood. So by renal tubules and increases calcium absorption from the digested food. Along with the TCT, it helps in calcium balance in the body. Did you understand? So both parathyroid gland and thyroid gland maintaining calcium balance in the body. Is it clear? Next gland is thymus gland. Okay, it is a bilobed gland located between lungs, behind sternum, on the ventral side of aorta. Here we can see the location of the thymus gland. It is located between the lungs, between the lungs, behind the sternum of the ventral side of the aorta. It secretes thymosin. It is a peptide hormone. What are the functions of thymosin? Differentiation of T lymphocytes which provide cell-mediated immunity. It is very important for next year. This chapter is completely important for next year too. So listen carefully and study well. The functions of thymosin, it's a differentiation of T lymphocytes. Our body, our blood cells are having 2 types of lymphocytes. Our bone marrow is producing 2 types of lymphocytes, T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. Very, very important. The thymosin differentiation of the T lymphocytes which provide cell-mediated immunity. The lymphocytes are giving immunity power to our body, and it promote antibody production for humoral immunity. The T lymphocytes helps our body to produce antibody, helps the B lymphocytes produce antibody, and giving more immune power. Humoral means what is the fluid? Fluid immunity, blood. Is it clear? Yes. So thymus is present near the lungs, in between the lungs, and it secretes the thymosin. It differentiates T lymphocytes which provide cell-mediated immunity, and also it promotes antibody production for humoral immunity. The thymus is degenerated in old individuals. Did you understand? So just to think of it, it will be very larger in size in infants, but it is degenerated in old individuals, adults. Is it clear? Thymus is degenerated in old individuals. That means in adults. So production of thymosins decreases. Did you understand? In which period we need more immunity? During childhood stage. Is it clear? So this thymosin production is decreases in the adult stage. As a result, immune responses of old persons become weak because the size also decreases. The degeneration of the thymus gland taking place in adults, but in infants it is larger in size and also it is producing more thymosin. So the younger ones, infants and children, are getting more immune power, but the immune responses of old person become very weak. Shall we go to the next gland? Yes, that is adrenal gland. Where they are located? Just above the kidney. In the picture itself it is clearly given. See, above the kidney it is a cap-like structure called as adrenal gland. The adrenal gland has two parts. Adrenal cortex, outer part, adrenal medulla, inner part. Here see, adrenal cortex, outer side, the inner medulla, adrenal medulla, inner part. Now we can start with adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex has three layers. What are the three layers? Inner zona reticularis, middle zona fasciculata, outer zona glomerulosa. The picture itself clearly given. See, zona glomerulosa, outermost layer, middle zona fasciculata, and innermost layer zona reticularis. Three layers of adrenal cortex, and it produces corticoid hormones. There are different types of hormones are secreted by outer cortex of adrenal gland. In the lower classes we have studied adrenal gland secrete adrenaline, isn't it? Yes. But we are going to study in detail about adrenal gland. Adrenal gland have three parts. What are the three parts? Two layers, adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Adrenal cortex have three layers. Adrenal, what are the zona reticularis, zona fasciculata and zona glomerulosa. And what are the productions of these adrenal adrenal cortex? There are different types of hormones. Glucocorticoids, that means mainly cortisol. Mineral corticoids, mainly aldosterone and androgenic corticoids. Glucocorticoids, mineral corticoids and androgenic corticoids. Listen carefully. What are the productions of corticoid hormone by adrenal cortex? Glucocorticoids, now it's a planet. It is called as cortisol. Mineral corticoids, mainly called as aldosterone, and androgenic corticoids. These are the total production of adrenal cortex. Yes, first one, glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids involved in carbohydrate metabolism. Yes, glucose is the simple molecule of a carbohydrate. Yes, simple carbohydrate is glucose, isn't it? Yes. So in the name itself we can understand the glucocorticoids involved in carbohydrate metabolism, and it stimulate gluconeogenesis, lipolysis and proteolysis. The glucocorticoids stimulate gluconeogenesis, lipolysis and proteolysis. It inhibits cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. It maintains cardiovascular system and kidney functions. Now we are studying about the functions of glucocorticoid. Glucocorticoid, mineral corticoid and cortisol we have studied. Isn't it? What are the secretions of adrenal cortex? It involved in carbohydrate metabolism and stimulate gluconeogenesis, lipolysis and proteolysis. And it inhibits cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. Then it maintains cardiovascular system and kidney functions. Then cortisol stimulates RBC production and it produces anti-inflammatory reactions and suppress immune response. Is it clear? The next secretion of adrenal cortex is mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids. It regulates water, that means body fluid volume, electrolytic balance, osmotic pressure and blood pressure. And glucocorticoid is mainly for metabolism of our glucose, lipids, protein and all. But what about the mineralocorticoid? Regulate water electrolyte balance and also osmotic pressure and blood pressure. Aldosterone, it is known as mainly it is the hormone of mineralocorticoids are aldosterone. The aldosterone stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water from renal tubules and excretion of potassium and phosphorus ions. Here, see, phosphate ions. Aldosterone stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water from renal tubules and excretion of potassium and PO4 ions in this renal tubules. Now we understand about the adrenal cortex, mineralocorticoid secretion of adrenal cortex and mineralocorticoids. It regulates the water, electrolyte balance, osmotic pressure and blood pressure. Aldosterone stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water from renal tubules and excretion of potassium and phosphate ions. The third secretion of adrenal cortex is androgenic corticoids for growth of axial hair, pubic hair and facial hair during puberty. Do you understand? Adrenal cortex secreting three secretions. What are they? Glucocorticoid, mineralocorticoid and androgenic corticoids. What's the function of the androgenic corticoids? For growth of axial hair, pubic hair in the private part and facial hair during puberty. The deficiency of corticoid hormones affects carbohydrate metabolism. It causes acute weakness and fatigue. This condition is called Addison's disease. Here we can see the person affected with Addison's disease. Deficiency of corticoid hormones affects carbohydrate metabolism and it causes acute weakness. See the fingers and all. Faces we can see the weakness. Acute weakness and fatigue. This condition is called Addison's disease. The next layer of adrenal gland is adrenal medulla. Yes, the previous page itself we have completed adrenal cortex. Now adrenal medulla, inner adrenal medulla. It produces catecholamine hormones such as adrenaline. Adrenaline is otherwise known as epinephrine and noradrenaline or norepinephrine. Adrenal medulla secretes catecholamine hormones. What are the catecholamine hormones? Adrenaline and noradrenaline. It is otherwise known as epinephrine or norepinephrine. Did you understand? Adrenaline and noradrenaline. They are rapidly secreted in response to stress, emergency situations, so-called emergency hormone. Hormones of fight and flight. Did you understand? So that's why adrenal gland is known as an emergency gland or emergency adrenaline is called emergency hormone. Only emergency period it will secrete. So it is hormones of fight or flight. Did you understand? Here itself we can see at the time of stress, it will secrete more. At the time of fear, say the dog is chasing the girl. By the time there is a production of more adrenaline hormone, the fear, anger, if the snake is appearing in front of you, some critical situations. Is it clear? Emergency situation, it will secrete adrenaline. That means the adrenal medulla produce adrenaline and noradrenaline, and they are rapidly secreted in response to stress emergency situations, so called emergency hormone. These hormones increases alertness, pupillary dilation, piloerection, that means rising of hairs, sweating, heartbeat, heart contraction, and respiratory rate. Okay, what are the symptoms of this production of these adrenal gases? Alertness. Then pupillary dilation, that means our eye pupil will dilated. Then piloerections, the rising of our hair. Then sweating, increasing our secretion of the sweat gland, increasing our heartbeat, heart contraction, and respiratory rate. So they also stimulate breakdown of glycogen to increase as glucose in blood. Why? To give energy to run away from that critical situation. Also stimulates the breakdown of lipids and protein. Okay, children, that's all about this adrenal gland. So this much is enough for you. Now it's the time for smart class. Thank you.
Thyroid and parathyroid glands play a crucial role in various metabolic reactions taking place in the human body. In humans, the thyroid gland is a median endocrine gland located in the neck between the trachea and larynx. It has two lobes interconnected by a transverse non-glandular connective tissue called the isthmus, which is H-shaped. The thyroid gland is the largest endocrine gland, and it weighs 25 grams. The size of the thyroid gland varies with differences in diet, age, and sexual development. The thyroid gland is made up of follicles and stromal tissues. Further, each thyroid follicle is composed of cuboidal follicular cells that enclose a cavity. The thyroid follicular cells produce two hormones, namely triiodothyronin or T3, tetraiodothyronin or thyroxin or T4, whereas the parafollicular cells scattered between the follicles and the stroma produce thyrocalcitonin or TCT. The synthesis and secretion of T3 and T4 hormones is regulated by the thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH produced by the anterior pituitary gland. Thyroid hormones help regulate tissue growth and development. They support the formation of red blood cells and control the metabolism of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Thyroid hormones also maintain the water and electrolyte balance and regulate the basal metabolic rate. To ensure a normal rate of synthesis of these thyroid hormones, the presence of iodine in one's diet is a must. Deficiency of iodine in our diet can lead to hypothyroidism, which causes simple or colloid goiter. It is characterized by the enlargement of the thyroid gland. Goiter is a non-genetic disease commonly found in people in hilly regions. To prevent goiter, table salt is iodized these days. In pregnant women, hypothyroidism can lead to defective development of the growing fetus. This results in stunted growth in children and leads to a disease called cretinism. Cretinism is characterized by mental retardation, abnormal skin, deafness, mutism, a low intelligence quotient, pigeon chest, and protruding tongue. Cretinism can be congenital, that is, the absence of a thyroid gland due to a genetic defect. It can also be endemic or caused due to the absence of iodine in the diet in a particular geographical area. In adult women, hypothyroidism may cause the menstrual cycle to become irregular. Sometimes, there is hypersecretion of thyroid hormones due to cancer or development of nodules in the thyroid glands. This hypersecretion of thyroid hormones leads to a medical condition called hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism causes Graves' disease or exophthalmic goiter in adults. It is characterized by an enlarged thyroid gland, protrusion of the eyeballs, increased BMR, physical and mental restlessness, and insomnia. Hyposecretion of thyrocalcitonin causes osteoporosis. It is characterized by increasing calcium deposition in the bones. This results in decreased reabsorption of calcium from the urine, thereby increasing the excretion of calcium. Thus, it prevents hypercalcemia. Let's study about parathyroid glands now. In humans, there are two pairs of parathyroid glands, which are partially embedded in the thyroid lobes dorsally. They are small, pea-sized glands, two of them present on each side of the thyroid lobes. Endocrine cells of these glands are known as chief cells. They secrete a peptide hormone called parathyroid hormone or PTH. It is also known as parathormone or Colles hormone. The circulating levels of calcium ions regulate the secretion of parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone increases the activity of osteoclasts. This results in elevated bone resorption, which releases ionic calcium and phosphates into the blood. Parathyroid hormone also slows the loss of calcium and magnesium and increases the loss of phosphates in urine. It retards bone dissolution and stimulates the excretion of calcium in the urine. Moreover, it stimulates the reabsorption of calcium by the renal tubules and increases calcium absorption from digested food. Hence, parathyroid hormone is known as a hypercalcemic hormone, as it increases the level of calcium in the blood. Along with TCT, it plays a significant role in balancing calcium in the body. Hyposecretion of the parathyroid hormone causes a medical condition called parathyroid tetany. It is characterized by muscle spasms, twitching, contraction of the muscles of the face, hands, feet, etc. On the other hand, hypersecretion of the parathyroid hormone causes a skeletal disorder called osteitis fibrosa cystica. This disorder replaces normal bones with cysts and fibrous tissues. And it causes the destruction of bones, also known as osteoporosis. Increased levels of calcium are deposited in various parts of the body, which brings about calcification of soft tissues. Hypersecretion of parathyroid hormone also produces stones in the kidneys and ureters, causing renal inefficiency. Therefore, the proper secretion of hormones from the thyroid and parathyroid glands is essential for the smooth functioning of the human body. The thymus gland is a lobular lymphoid organ situated on the dorsal side of the heart and the aorta. The gland plays a vital role in the development of the immune system. It is active in young individuals but degenerates gradually, resulting in weak immune responses in old individuals. The thymus gland secretes a peptide hormone called thymosin that plays a vital role in the differentiation of T lymphocytes, which provides cell-mediated immunity. Thymosins also help in the production of antibodies that provide humoral immunity. Another important hormone-secreting gland is the adrenal gland. These yellowish, triangular-shaped glands are also called suprarenal glands because they are situated on the top of the anterior part of the kidneys. Each adrenal gland is formed of two types of tissues: the outer adrenal cortex and the inner or central adrenal medulla. The adrenal cortex is formed of three layers of cells called zona glomerulosa, which is the outer layer, zona fasciculata, the middle layer, and zona reticularis, the inner layer. The adrenal cortex secretes many hormones called corticoids. Based on their functions, these corticoids are differentiated as mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids. The primary function of mineralocorticoids is to regulate the balance of water and electrolytes in our body. The primary mineralocorticoid is aldosterone, which is a steroid hormone. Aldosterone acts on the renal tubules of the kidneys and stimulates the reabsorption of sodium and water and the removal of potassium and phosphate ions. Aldosterone also helps to maintain the body's fluid volume, electrolytes, osmotic pressure, and blood pressure. The glucocorticoids secreted by the adrenal cortex are involved in carbohydrate metabolism. The chief function of glucocorticoids is to stimulate gluconeogenesis, lipolysis, and proteolysis. It also inhibits the utilization of amino acids and cellular uptake. Glucocorticoids include cortisol, cortisone, and corticosterone hormones. Of these, cortisol is the main glucocorticoid. Cortisol provides anti-inflammatory reactions and also helps to maintain the cardiovascular system and the functions of the kidneys. Moreover, cortisol stimulates RBC production and suppresses the immune response. Apart from mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids, the adrenal cortex also secretes small amounts of the androgenic hormone testosterone, which is a male hormone. Testosterone stimulates the development of secondary sexual characters such as axial hair, pubic hair, facial hair, and deepening of the voice. Like the adrenal cortex, the adrenal medulla, which forms the central part of the gland, also secretes hormones. Adrenaline or epinephrine and noradrenaline or norepinephrine are the two main hormones secreted by the adrenal medulla. These hormones are amine hormones and are derivatives of catechol and are collectively called catecholamines. These hormones increase the strength of heart contractions, heartbeat, and the rate of respiration. They also increase alertness, sweating, and pupillary dilation. Moreover, catecholamines cause piloerection. Catecholamines also stimulate the breakdown of glycogen, proteins, and lipids. In short, catecholamines are rapidly secreted in response to stress and emergency situations and are thus also called emergency hormones or hormones of fight or flight. In fact, the adrenal glands are also known as 3F glands, where the 3 F's stand for fright, fight, and flight. These glands are also called 4S glands, where the 4 S's stand for sugar metabolism, salt metabolism, sex hormones, and source of energy. Apart from the adrenal and thymus glands, there are certain tissues in our body that secrete hormones.
That's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.